Whoopi Goldberg of ABC's The View has taken advantage of a very specific privilege with the Walt Disney Company. She's been one of the few people to spread her deceased relative's ashes on a Disney attraction, and apparently she can still go to the parks. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with me is Disney historian Mr. VashSky. Vash, I'm so glad to have a Disney historian on the channel for once. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Jonas. This is a particularly interesting issue that has its history rooted, well, farther than you would imagine. But to get to that, we have to get to the story.
That's right. Let's talk about it. From WDWNT, Whoopi Goldberg admits to spreading ashes at Disneyland by Phil Wood. In a recent interview on Late Night with Seth Meyers, that would explain why no one saw it, Disney legend and host of The View, Whoopi Goldberg, admitted to scattering her mother's ashes on an attraction at Disneyland Park. That's the one in Anaheim. There she is. Yep, Whoopi Goldberg doesn't hide her love of Disney. Throughout her career, she's lent her voice to many Disney characters, including Shenzi in The Lion King and Stretch in Toy Story 3. I forgot she was Stretch in Toy Story 3. She was fantastic in The Lion King. Intimidating, but still kind of playful. She's also vocally discussed her love of Disney parks, but on one trip to Disneyland in 2010, she did something even the biggest Disney fans have never done. After the death of her grandmother, Emma Harris, Goldberg took her mother's ashes to Disneyland to scatter her remains in one of her favorite locations. It's a small world. Look at that. They actually remembered not to capitalize it. Thank you, WDWNT, for that. After doing this, Goldberg realized she had probably gone a little too far in honoring her mother. She told cast members what she had done because she realized that spreading human remains in a water ride could cause a safety hazard. On that, she was right. Now, Vash, why don't you, before we go to the tail end of this, why don't you tell us about some of the history of this habit? And yes, I just want to point out that was a Sister Act joke.
I didn't catch it, but I knew you used some interesting verbiage there, so I should have included in it. C'est la vie. But this is a practice that actually goes back farther than people would maybe necessarily know. I remember reading one of the most famous Mice Chat articles provided on that website back in 2007 by a Mr. Al Lutz. Now, the irony of this story taking place with the recently deceased Al Lutz is not lost on me, so I do apologize. I'm not trying to make a joke or be funny in that way. I'm just saying this was one of his most popular articles at the time here, and he went into some fascinating detail. Let's go ahead and read here. The craze seems to have gotten its start at the Haunted Mansion, with the earliest known incident taking place in the late 1990s. Ever since then, the practice becomes more popular by the year, and it happens so frequently now that Disneyland has trained the ride operators how to handle such an incident and what to do when remains are discovered inside the attraction. Sometimes the person spreading the ashes is seen on surveillance cameras, and the cast members respond quickly. Skipping ahead here, but when a Haunted Mansion cast member sees ashes being spread from a passing dune buggy, the attraction is cycled out, shut down for hours at a time, while the custodial department comes in and begins the cleanup. Obviously, there are operational inhibitions when this actually takes place. So yeah, it's not something that Disney necessarily wants to do, as one can imagine. The Anaheim police are also involved in the incident, but there's rarely anything they can actually do about it either. Sometimes, however, the cremated ashes aren't found until the end of the night when the cast members close down the rides and walk the tracks looking for lost and found. Just last month, that situation occurred when a cast member at the Haunted Mansion found several piles and a trail of ashes alongside the ride track. The Anaheim police and Disneyland security were summoned, and judging by the very large amount of ashes, this deposit was likely a small group of deceased people. The police identified the substance as human remains, and the custodial crew came in for cleanup.
Whoa. You just skipped over something there. A small group of deceased people, or perhaps a very large married couple.
Well, look, listen, this was 2007, guys. I wanted... I didn't want to necessarily include that because, well, I didn't want to necessarily offend anybody, but this is, Al Lutz was just, he was speculating. What can you say? But this is the really interesting part about all of this. To respond to this growing problem, remember, this is 2007. Disneyland's custodial department recently had to purchase special vacuums with very sophisticated HEPA filters that can capture the gritty ash of human remains while also capturing the small bone fragments that also can be present after cremation. The cast members who work in attractions know the code words when calling the custodial hotline. They tell the custodial dispatcher that they need a, quote, HEPA cleanup as soon as possible. This was back in 2007, Jonas. And as Al Lutz was pointing out here, practice was growing year after year. In fact, I actually know somebody who did that themselves. So they didn't do it on an attraction. They did it in some bushes around the resort. And now I wasn't in agreement with this practice, but even I've heard about it amongst my own circles. It's more popular than you would think.
It's such a fascinating thing. Obviously, when someone thinks about, generally speaking, as the Disney as the victim of this particular crime, if it's someone's boring work, like you wouldn't want people dumping ashes where you work and where you have to maintain it. But of course, if someone is going to pick a happy place where they would like to be laid to rest permanently, you can understand a beach, you can understand a nice hill, you can understand why someone might say Disney World. Now, obviously, there is no cemetery at Disney World, at least no official one, and no non-fabricated one. Of course, there is a cemetery in the Haunted Mansion, and I can understand if people say, yes, that is where they want to be laid to rest. You know, like a nice tree in the South. That's where I'm thinking. You know, something like that. And this, I get it. There are some people who are so caught up with this company that, okay, there you go. I don't know why someone would want to live in the Haunted Mansion or have their ashes in the Haunted Mansion, which is all about frights and spooks and all that kind of, stuff. Let's add a little more context here. And WDWNT did a great job here. Goldberg isn't the only person. It's always funny because her name isn't Goldberg, but when you hear Goldberg off on its own, it's just there's a little bit of humor in there. Isn't the only person who has tried or successfully scattered a loved one's ashes at Disney parks. In 2018, the Wall Street Journal determined that this happened almost monthly. Every time one of these Code Grandma incidents, as they're informally known, occurred, the ride where the ashes are scattered would need to be shut down until safety measures could be taken. Goldberg's admission came during a publicity tour for her new memoir, Bits and Pieces, My Mother, My Brother. Well, that's ironic considering the subject of the article. Bits and Pieces, My Mother, My Brother, and Me. Where's her brother then? Goldberg is set to star in Sister Act 3 for Disney Plus. No release date has been announced for the film. Okay, well, first of all, my respects to Whoopi Goldberg's mother here, and I appreciate that she confessed to the crime because it is a crime. It also sounds like the Disney company does not want to make an enemy out of Whoopi Goldberg. That would be foolish, and no one makes an enemy out of Whoopi Goldberg. I wouldn't try this if I were any other person, other than the other 7.999999 billion people in the world that are not Whoopi Goldberg, that are not on The View. Joy Behar maybe could get away with it. Who knows? Vash, where would you like to have your ashes spread? Let's ask everybody in the comment section down below. My goodness. Where are we going to go with the comments on this? What do you think about this whole situation here?
Well, I mean, is this where Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg take Barbara Walters at some point? No, that's a terrible joke.
Vash. Well, with that, we'll throw it to the commenters down below. We'll see if this makes the edit. This is why I'm going ahead and transitioning now as we watch Vash struggling to keep it together. Like this video if you like this video. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And of course, if you would consider subscribing to That Park Plays for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.